Brian, yeah, please.
Yes, sir. I have some very close friends who run some of the largest auto dealerships in Southern California, Rusnak Automotive Group.
Good.
Their message to you, they're 100% behind you right now. They know they're going through some soft sales period.
It's true.
They're in it for the long haul. What's your message to thousands of auto dealerships across this country that are kind of navigating through this tariff?
Yeah, they're going to do better than ever before. They're going to sell cars in America at levels that they've never even thought of before. And they're going to make more money than they ever made before. It's going to be great. They're going to be selling a better car, too. It's going to be a better product.
And they're behind you 100%.
I know. I know that. They have been behind me, right? They knew it was right. They've been asking for this for 25, 30 years, in all fairness. No, they're very happy. I told you the Auto Workers Union, we got tremendous votes. But they like me today even better than they did on Election Day on November 5th because they see the results now. They're all happening. And yeah, and they have plants moving in, Brian. A lot of plants are moving in. Thank you very much for that question. Yeah.
Was Governor Gavin Newsom trying to kill the auto industry then?
Oh, he was killing the auto industry. I don't think he knew it. I think he's a guy who he's just got a faulty thought process. You look at that train. The train is the most. I've seen people, stupid people with cost overruns for years. I've watched where something would cost twice as much or 3 times, but this thing is costing 20 times more. It's the most incredible disaster I've ever seen. That's one. The cars are just as bad. Everything's bad. And now you have this situation. So his own sheriff, who's a good man, by the way, said 2 days ago or 3 days ago that we could not have done this without the military. They were going to take over this whole, they couldn't have done it. Now today they got him to change his tune. He said, oh, I think we could have handled it. You know, it's so sad. He was so honest. I was using his quote all over the place and they got him to change. But he knows. Los Angeles would be right now burning to the ground just like the houses burned to the ground. It's so sad what's going on in Los Angeles. Think of it. They had a fire that should have never had because they should have listened to me in the water. Eventually, we broke in and we had the water come down from the Pacific Northwest. I could show you pictures now with the half pipes, the big half pipes coming all the way down California. Water, so much water. They don't have any droughts. They don't have any. They have so much water. They sent it all out to the Pacific Ocean for 20 years. So ridiculous. And we got them to take it now. But what they do and what they're doing, this is a big problem. And what they really want to do is keep criminals because they're trying to protect criminals. Sanctuary cities are a disaster in this country. And most of the voters don't want them. Politicians like them for whatever reason, but I think the politicians are wrong. That's why we won in such a convincing fashion. We won all 7 swing states. We won by millions of votes. We won 2,750 districts as opposed to 505. That's why when you look at the map, it's almost all red. It's got 2 little blue stripes on each side of it. It's almost all red. But now you have to, I always got along with Gavin. I like Gavin. I've liked him, always. He said I never called him. You know, they asked him a question on Fox, I guess. I never spoke to him. He doesn't remember the call. He doesn't remember. I never spoke. And then I produced a phone call. I had it. It took me about 2 minutes. I said, well, here's the call. It lasted 16 minutes and 4 seconds. And it was at 12:30 in the evening. I actually made a call, didn't pick up. I called him a second time, and he picked up. And I told him, I said, you have to get your ass in gear because you're going to have a problem there. And he would have. If we didn't bring the military in, he would have had, you would have right now something. And I went through it because I follow the rules 100%. And I watched in Minnesota where you have the man who ran for vice president of the United States. Fortunately, he was a disaster. But he wouldn't call in the National Guard. And I eventually called in the National Guard, but it was seven days late. I said, I'll never do that again. I'm never going to, if I see problems brewing, if they're not going to do the problem, I'm not going to wait 2 weeks. Because that city, Minneapolis, burned down. If you remember the CNN anchor, he was standing there saying, yes, this is a peaceful rally. And behind him, the entire city was on fire. It looked like World War II. And I appreciate the question. Please. Thank you.
First, the terrible, horrific plane crash in India today, where you saw the images on TV. Your reaction to that first, and will you speak to Prime Minister Modi?
The plane crash was terrible. I've already told them anything we can do. And it's a big country, a strong country, and they'll handle it, I'm sure. But I let them know that anything we can do, we'll be over there immediately. But it was a horrific crash. It looks like most are gone. They actually maybe have a couple survivors, which is just heard. But that was a horrible crash. Nobody knows. Nobody has any idea what it might be. I gave him a couple of pointers. I said, maybe you look at this or that. You know, we saw the plane. It looked like it was flying pretty well. It didn't look like there was an explosion. It just looked like the engines maybe lost power. But boy, that is a terrible crash. It's one of the worst in aviation history. Yeah, second?
How confident are you, sir, that conflict with Iran can be avoided?
Well, I'd love to avoid the conflict. Iran's going to have to negotiate a little bit tougher, meaning they're going to have to give us some things that they're not willing to give us right now. I'm the last person. I've kept us out of wars. We defeated ISIS completely, 100%, and I haven't had it's peace through strength. I believe in peace through strength. We're the greatest military in the world. I rebuilt the military, as you remember, for 4 years. I rebuilt the military, and then we gave a chunk of it away, but it was still peanuts. It was a lot, but it was peanuts compared to what we rebuilt. Gave it to Afghanistan, one of the most embarrassing moments in the history of our country with the whole withdrawal, the way they withdrew. It was very embarrassing, but we rebuilt the military. We have the greatest, strongest military. We defeated ISIS. We defeated ISIS. We defeated ISIS in 4 weeks. It was told to be 5 years. It was going to take 5 years, anywhere from 4 to 5 years. We did it in 4 weeks, with, by the way, headed by the general who's now the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That's why he's there. He said it would take 4 weeks, and he did it in 4 weeks. He did actually a little bit faster. So we have a great country, and we're going to keep it that way. And when it comes to Los Angeles or other cities, if we see other cities are gearing up, and these people are agitators, they're paid, they're professionals, they're insurrectionists, they're troublemakers, they're all of those things. But I believe they're paid, and we're going to find out through Pam Bondi and her great staff, her great people at Justice, who they are. And Mike, I think you're doing some investigations in that in Congress, but we're going to find out who they are, because they're really, I think what they're doing is unbelievably illegal. Just one thing, so they took the bricks away from people. They're walking in with satchels of bricks. Now, why do you have bricks? You have bricks because you throw bricks. They're very potent. If they hit you, they kill you. And they took them away. The military took them away. They saw him, what the hell is this? The guy could hardly carry me. Many bricks. He's a strong guy, couldn't carry him. And they saw that, and they took him away. Then they found others with bricks. But they're ingenious. They also brought hammers along, very heavy hammers. And I saw them pounding the curb and pounding the sidewalk. And it was like a military operation. This guy's pounding strong, boom, big shots. And it was breaking up granite, the granite curbs. And the granite was breaking up, and the concrete was breaking up. And there was lines of people standing there, and they're handing him. And then he stopped handing them. They just went down and picked him up. It was so professional. I said, that's a professional organization. This is not like people at random. This guy's breaking up because they couldn't use the bricks. So who would think of this even? Did a lot of damage. A lot of curbs are broken, a lot of sidewalks broken, but I never saw that before. That's one I haven't seen. I thought I saw it all. And they have it on tape. And with that, people get killed. You know, they go to the bridges and they drop the concrete off the top of the bridge with a car coming along at 70 miles an hour, and the person dies. And we had a lot of car problems. You saw that. They were all over the road. They were littered all over the road, where the cars got stopped by concrete going through the front windshield. Now, these are bad people. If we didn't go, Los Angeles right now would be on fire. It would be a disaster. And we stopped it. And last night was very good. Nobody showed up. You know why they didn't show up? Because we were there. if it was just the police, because the police are great. I know those police, they're great, but they're told not to do anything. They're not allowed to act. Thank you. Well, I don't want to say imminent, but it looks like it's something that could very well happen. Look, it's very simple, not complicated. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Other than that, I want them to be successful. I want them to be tremendous. We'll help them be successful. We'll trade with them. We'll do whatever is necessary. You know, I stopped a war between India and Pakistan. And I stopped it with trade. Nobody, I don't think I've ever seen a story written about it, but it was pretty cool. They were getting ready. Pakistan was their turn to hit, and eventually they're going to go nuclear. And I stopped it. I called each. I respect each leader greatly. I know them. And I spoke to them, and I talked about trade. I said, but you're not trading with us if you're going to go to war, if you're going to start throwing nuclear weapons around. And I said it to both of them, and they were both unbelievable, actually. They understood it exactly. They stopped. I stopped that war with phone calls and trade. And India's here right now negotiating a trade deal, and Pakistan's coming, I think, next week. And I'm very proud of that. Nobody died. Nobody, the nuclear weapons, they each have very severe, very substantial numbers of nuclear weapons. And I think we should get some credit for that. You know, the whole Republican Party should, because that's their mindset. Please. Yes, ma'am. What? Look, I've always been in favor of students coming in from other countries. That includes China. And we have 500,000 Chinese students coming in. I've always been in favor of it. Does it mean that you have to watch people? Yeah, you have to watch students, but you have to watch other people also. I've always been strongly in favor of it. I think it's a great thing. It's also, it's good for our schools. It's good for, I think it's good for our country. I'm also in favor of having them stay. I've been in favor of letting them stay. If you get educated for 4 years, you're willing to get educated for 4 years. I like people being able to stay. You know, they have some great students. You have some, these are Republicans clapping, you know, because a lot of Republicans don't like that idea. I happen to like it. I'm a real Republican, believe it or not. But I like the idea. They go 4 years. To me, that's almost like, you know, just buying your way in a very legitimate way. And, you know, you have stories where Apple wants to hire somebody and they can't hire him because he can't stay. He went to a great school. He finished first in his class. They made him a big offer, and everything's done, but he has no idea whether or not he's going to be able to stay. And I'm all for making sure that people like that can go to work for all of our great companies. And you know what they do? They go back to their country, and there are stories that are all over the place. They go back to their company and they start a company just like they were going to start here. They end up starting it in China or India or someplace else, and now they're among the richest people in the world. They've got thousands and thousands of employees that make it great. This is happening all the time because they're not allowed to stay. And I think we'll probably end up doing something about that, right? I think. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. You in the blue, please. Light blue.
Thank you, Mr. President. How close are you to step back home between Ukraine and Russia? We see a very bad escalation. Are you going to leave it in the hands of the Europeans?
I'm very close to the situation. I'm very disappointed in Russia, but I'm disappointed in Ukraine also, because I think deals could have been made. And, you know, we're losing 5,000, 6,000 people a week, soldiers mostly, but also people living in towns because they're getting hit by missiles again. How'd you like to live in a building and you think a missile has a good chance of hitting your building during the evening? It's horrible. Must be horrible to live like that. But, I mean, we'll get it, but it's, I'm disappointed that it's not done. We did great with India and Pakistan. We did very good with Israel. I thought, look, October 7th was a disaster. People forget, you know, they like to forget. That was a horrible thing. But, you know, none of these things would have happened if I were president. If I were president, none of it would have happened. You wouldn't have the Israel problem. Iran was broke. They had no money. We had big sanctions on them. Biden immediately let them get rich, $300 billion they have right now. But they had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah. They had no money for anything. It was perfect. We wouldn't have had inflation that was caused by oil, Chris. The oil price went through the roof. It was also caused by their spending, but it was caused more by oil than anything else. The oil went so high, got close to $100 a barrel. And that cost, and that also kept the war going with Putin, because at $100 a barrel, that was a big money-making experience. But now it's down to where it's not so good for them anymore. No, it's very important to get that solved. That's a bloodbath. That's a terrible bloodbath that's going on. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Following up your question, answer on India and Pakistan for stopping the war between them. India says that they cannot talk to Pakistan unless Pakistan takes actions against terrorists.
We're going to get those two getting together, you know? I told them, India and Pakistan, they've had a long time rivalry over Kashmir. And I said, I can solve anything. I'll be your arbitrator. I will be your arbitrator. I can solve anything. And I started the first question, how long has it been going on? They said, 2,000 years. I said, oh, that's a problem. They don't think it is. When I heard 2,000 years, I said, maybe I'll have John Hess solve that problem.
Will you punish Israel for striking Iran?
Peter?
Thank you, President Trump. I have two. First, on immigration. What made you change your mind about targeting in California farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business?
Well, we're not targeting. In fact, if you look today, I put out a statement today about farmers. Our farmers are being hurt badly by, you know, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, you know, great. And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not. And you know what's going to happen and what is happening? They get rid of some of the people because, you know, you go into a farm and you look and people they've been there for 20, 25 years and they've worked great and the owner of the farm loves them and everything else, and then you're supposed to throw them out, and you know what happens? They end up hiring the people, the criminals that have come in, the murderers from prisons and everything else. So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers, and leisure too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
And my other question about the Middle East. As the Israelis apparently gear up for some kind of an attack, a possible attack on Iran, are you trying to talk Netanyahu out of doing that, or are you so against Iran having a nuclear weapon that you're okay, he does his thing because it is not an American war?
Yeah, it's a very fair question. Look, I want to have an agreement with Iran. We're fairly close to an agreement. We are fairly close to a pretty good agreement. It's got to be better than pretty good, though, but it's got to be, I'd much prefer an agreement. As long as I think there is an agreement, I don't want them going in because I think that would blow it. Might help it, actually, but it also could blow it. But we've had very good discussions with Iran. Whether or not we get there, I can't tell you, but it'll happen soon. I say this, Peter, very strongly. They can't have, whether it's going in or not going in, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I'd prefer the more friendly path.
And can you tell us what the Israelis told you that made you start to evacuate the dependents of servicemen and women who are stationed in the Middle East?
They didn't tell me anything, but I said, look, there's a chance of massive conflict. We have a lot of American people in this area, and I said, we got to tell them to get out because something could happen soon. And I don't want to be the one that didn't give any warning and missiles are flying into their buildings. It's possible. So I had to do it. You know, I had the choice. Do I do it or not? Doing it has its downside, but it also has its upside, like you're going to save a lot of lives if it should happen. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Right? Thank you.
Mr. President, for Americans that are coming to Washington on Saturday for the military parade,
It's going to be a great day.
What would you like folks to take away from that day? What would you hope that they would remember? And also, Mr.
How great
President,
our country is, and how strong our military is. We have the strongest military in the world. You know, it's very interesting. 3 weeks ago, it was the end of world anniversary, end of World War II, and I called France, and Macron, who's a good man, I said, what are you doing? He goes, we're celebrating World War II, our victory. I said, your victory? Your victory. Tell me about that. And then I called somebody else, and I happened to speak to President Putin at the time. Now, in all fairness to him, he lost 51 million people, and he did fight. Russia fought. Sort of interesting, isn't it? He fought with us in World War II, and everybody hates him. And Germany and Japan, they're fine. You know, someday somebody will explain that, but I like Germany and Japan too. But Putin is a little confused by that, you know. He said, we lost 51 million people, and we were your ally. And now everybody hates Russia, and they love Germany and Japan. I said, let's explain that sometime, okay? But it's a strange world. But I will say this, look, I want them to go away saying how great our country is and how great our military is. And I was making all these calls. For some reason, I spoke to like 4 different places. Sir, are you celebrating? And I said, you know, we won World War II and World War I, right? We won them. And yet we're the only country that doesn't celebrate. Everybody's celebrating except us. And I said, we should celebrate too.
Several No Kings protests planned across the country on Saturday as well. What are your thoughts on those?
What do they call it? No king?
No Kings.
I don't feel like a king. I have to go through hell to get stuff approved. A king would say, I'm not going to get this. A king would have never had the California mandate to even be talking to him. He wouldn't have to call up Mike Johnson and Thune and say, fellas, you got to pull this off, and after years we get it done. No, we're not a king. We're not a king at all. Thank you very much. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir,
go ahead.
Mr. President, sir, you made a lengthy posting today on Truth Social about Senator Rand Paul. Do you expect to see him at the picnic tonight, sir?
I do. I look forward to seeing him, actually. I like him. He's the hardest vote in the history of the U.S. Senate to get. Probably won't get him, but he's a very tough vote. I mean, he's a very tough vote. He's always been a friend of mine. You know, I endorsed him and got him elected. I got him elected twice. But I don't think he understands how great this bill is. This is a great bill. No tax on tips, no tax on, you know, the Social Security payments. It's unbelievable what happens. No tax on overtime. You work overtime, no more tax. It's so, those are big, but they're minor compared to the big things. Taxes reduced. And let's look at the other side. If it doesn't get approved, a 68% tax increase, 68%, including the fact that the Trump tax cuts kick in. But it's a 68% tax increase and many other bad things. I don't even want to, some of them are so bad I don't even want to talk about them. I think it's one of the greatest bills we'll ever pass in this country. And I think that Leader Thune and this gentleman right here, what he's gone through on this with, you know, we started off with a majority of 1. Now I guess we have 7. So it's like easier, but it's really sort of 3. It's 7, but it really equates to 3, right? And we have great support. I mean, I can't tell you, I can't guarantee, but when you have a majority of essentially 3, where you can't lose anything more than 3 votes, and you get it passed, it's pretty amazing. And I think it's going to haunt the Democrats because most of the bill is common sense. It's tax cuts, it's border wall funding, it's military funding properly spent. It's all things that are like common sense. They're all good. There's nothing tricky about it. It's basic stuff. And we don't intend on getting one, think of it, not one Democrat vote in the House. Mike, not one. Maybe somebody will come along. I don't know how they can run for office. So many different things. We're gonna, very important, Medicare and Medicaid are gonna be strengthened, not hurt. You know, they're using fake narrative. Oh, we're gonna, no, they're gonna be strengthened. We're gonna strengthen them. They're gonna destroy them because under their policies, Medicare and Medicaid go away. Social Security under them is gonna be devastated. With us, it's gonna be kept, but much stronger than before. And very interestingly, I saw this and I proved it because for 4 years, I never hurt Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security. I've already been there. But they're going to destroy Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. They're going to wipe them out, in my opinion, because their policies are so bad, the country will have no money to pay for them. We're going to make them stronger than ever before. Thank you very much, everybody.